So good afternoon, everyone. The name of this session is Transforming Climate Solutions for Business, Cities, Civil Society in Europe and Latin America. But translated to, in another way, what we really want to discuss here is what is the role of other actors regarding climate change. When I say other actors, I mean actors that are not there in the negotiation rooms right now, discussing major targets and negotiating on, finance and deadlines and other intricacies and technicalities of the COP that are normal to COP events. So at the end of these 2 weeks of negotiations, big targets will emanate. There will be hopefully more ambition, and there will be a lot of work to do. Normally, this work is lying heavily on the shoulders of countries, national governments. And the role of this panel today is to demonstrate that other actors are equally important in getting work done, in getting transformation on the way. And we each have our own pitch. And the pitch is not to say that multilateralism and national governments are not important. Our pitch is actually to say that we have to work together more closely. And the role of each entity here represented. So I will be representing a local authority. There are representatives from the private sector, from academia, from research and innovation sectors, and there are representatives just of civil society individuals. The bottom line here is to demonstrate that when the going gets tough, we really all need to get together and liaise. We are actually allies. So this is my small pitch as a local authority. I'm the moderator, so I can give myself 3 minutes, and I will be equally tough on everyone else. Cities. Cities represent a tiny, tiny fraction of land area, yet we concentrate most of the world's population. We concentrate 75% of emissions. I would dare to say that cities are actually the battleground where sustainability will be won or lost. I know it's a bold statement, but if you think it's where the problems are concentrated, but it's also where many of the solutions are concentrated, maybe you will agree that at the end of the day, cities are actually very agile, and we are not as ridden by ideology or administrative burden as national governments are. We're close to the people, we're close to where problems actually happen, and people come and knock at our door if there's an extreme weather event, and they expect us to solve it not reactively, but proactively as well. So in Cascais, we're focused on adaptation, naturally. We have a local adaptation plan. It's got 80 measures. It costs about 12 million euros. It's focused on 2030, but we've already accomplished 55% of these measures. But the cool thing is that the plan was devised bottom up. We involved everyone. So people that worked in the urbanism department, or people that worked in civil protection or in the health department, they had no idea they actually had a role in planning for adapting to climate change. And we got everyone together, and collectively, with the help of academia, we developed this plan. We're also the first municipality in Portugal to have a carbon neutrality roadmap, and we've locked down this target of similar to the EU, 55% reduction by 2030. It's not easy. The first step was to deal with mobility. 50% of our emissions come from mobility, and so we now have a new bus system in Cascais. We've doubled the bus routes, and we've made public bus transport free. So this is the very first step to getting people to not use their private vehicles. Okay, I'll stop speaking, and I really want to hear what my colleagues from the panel have to say. So I'll start with Victor Vingueles. You are the executive director of ECODIS. It's a foundation, and I'd like you to briefly explain what this foundation does and the kind of impact it has, and sticking to this pitch that the role of other actors in climate action. How can we help make these big targets that will emanate from COP26 a reality?
Good afternoon for everyone. my first words, congratulations for your action, climate action, and congratulations for your role for organize this roundtable. In general, the image of Spain is not the culture of cooperation, no? In general. No? But now I am going to present a great initiative of cooperation for the common good, the community for climate. No, our foundation is promote this community. Okay. After the Paris Agreement, we built a group with principal partners in 3 sectors. Public authorities, in this sector, they are the Environmental Biodiversity Foundation and the Spanish Office for Climate, both the Ministry of Environment. And in addition, the association, the municipalities, the Spanish Association of Municipalities. No? Other sector is the private sector. In private sector is the Spanish Network for the Global Compact and the Spanish Group for the Green Growth. And finally, the third sector. The third sector, Red Cross and BirdLife and our foundation. Our foundation is the executive secretary of this community. And in our the principal goal, this initiative, this multi-stakeholder platform is the implementation with ambition, the Paris Agreement in Spain. No? Last year, our country emit more or less 300 millions, and our mission is reduce a lot of this amount. 7 key strategies in our platform. 1, against climate change, we need to mobilize all sectors. Now, there are more than 3,000 companies, more than 400 social entities, and more than 350 public authorities. No? Second, the focus this initiative is action. There isn't an initiative for debate, not talk about climate change. It's a community of doers, only doers. No? The third scale, in the web page of our platform, there is a menu of potential action for citizens with more than 100 options. The time is very short, no? Fast. And other idea is the initiative is co-responsibility. All people, all entities are responsibility. And fast. Other idea is an initiative for the pioneers, because early adopters are very important people, because social change happens through imitation. It's very important, no? And the sixth K is we promote sectorial initiative like bar for climate, bar and restaurant, health for climate, and municipality for climate. Because in general, for the change is very important. The vanity and the same. We look other actor, more or less like me, is at maybe Cascais, and other municipalities say, Cascais, good action. No?
Hopefully.
Hopefully. And this is a key principal factor for this initiative, this platform.
Thank you. And thank you for being succinct. And now we have Cesar Garcia Aranda. You're representing Madrid Technical University, and we're happy to hear you about climate action and science-based policies.
Thank you, Joanna. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to stay here, and I'm very proud to represent my university and maybe in general all universities, because we think we have a crucial role in this transition. When we are looking for a solution, sometimes we need to connect different actors, and I think university can the power to do this reality. Well, as university, UPM is the Technical University of Madrid. We have a clear agreement, a clear commitment. Sorry, and for example, we want to be example for other university, Spanish university, and other institutions with two targets, 2030 and 2040, and we hope to reach it in 2040 climate neutrality. It's difficult, but we think it's possible. And for reach this, we have a strategy and different goals. We like to work in different fields, connecting everything, because all of these are important. For example, we register our carbon footprint in the Minister Carbon Footprint Register, the first university, Spanish university. We have an annual budget for action to energy transition, especially in our energy consumption, buildings and infrastructure. But in the other side, every day at the university, we work like a community, like a small community with students, is the core of our university, and professor and other employee. Then, for example, we have a special program for scholarships about sustainability and climate change to learn not only in the classroom, learn to with apply your knowledge and the innovation connecting with cities. And in our faculties, in our campuses, there are a lot of people, and we know not everybody is worried about climate change. Then we create a leader group in its faculty with a student, professor, to connect this action and to listen their worries, their needs. And we try to work very close to the people, not like an academia, not only paper in scientific journal or important project. And I show you to remark projects. First, we are part of the European mission for cities, 100 climate neutral cities by 2030, and for the citizen. And this is an important change, the point of view of the university in this action with local authorities. And the second project that it'll begin in December, Project Aurora, is another point of view to empowering civil society to adopt a leading role in energy cycle. We want that they're owner of their own energy. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much. There's a third speaker who is with us on Zoom. Yes, Álvaro Cabrera from the Spanish Confederation of Business Organizations and Industry.
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
You can't see me? Oh, okay. All right.
But Álvaro,
Okay, well,
welcome, and yes, please. We're happy to hear your introduction and to hear how business and industry also contributes to climate action.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for your invitation and for giving me the opportunity to speak today on behalf of two organizations, on behalf of both COE and CEIB. I think the best way to well, what I thought about doing today is explaining very briefly sort of what a business organization does, as I think probably most of the audience is not very familiar with it. So I'll just introduce COE and CEIB. So COE is the main business organization in Spain, and CEIB does exactly the same, but in a much larger context. They're the business association for the whole of Latin America, plus Iberia, plus Spain and Portugal. But even though we operate at different scales, our overarching goal is pretty much the same, which is to communicate the positions of businesses, to try to promote policies that enhance and protect the competitiveness of businesses. And as I'll explain at the very end, that actually has implications for our ability to fight climate change effectively. All right, so those are our goals. How do we achieve them? Well, in business organizations, there are 6 ways in which we try to add value. First, when it comes to helping businesses have a voice in climate positions and in climate legislation, we try to come to common business positions. We try to provide the government with a unified business position. It would be impossible for the government to take into account the positions of businesses if they had to meet with each industry separately. So what we try to do is to try to bring that all together into one document, one position that can be considered and taken into consideration. Secondly, and here I'm skipping over to number 3 very quickly. We're not just reactive; we're also proactive. And so one of the advantages that businesses have is that they're very close to the issues. They know exactly where the challenges or the opportunities lie. And one of the things we try to do is draft documents with policy proposals with recommendations that the businesses have for improving the competitiveness of the private sector. Third, we try to be an advocate for the private sector. So we try to inform the public about what businesses are doing to try to decarbonize, to try what type of innovations they're coming up with. Again, just this with the idea that the public sees that the private sector can be an ally in this common fight of climate change. The last 3 things that we do in terms of trying to add value goes in the opposite direction, trying to keep companies informed as to what the government is doing so that they can adapt to climate legislation. And the first thing we do in this respect, what? Okay. One second.
Yes, now we can see you. We can see you.
You couldn't see me earlier? Okay. Okay, so the last 3 things. Okay, so the last 3 things that we do is we try to provide businesses with a unique channel, one channel of communication, so that they know about all of the legislation that's taking place through just one channel instead of having to visit multiple websites. Secondly, we try to highlight what's important. So one of the challenges for businesses to adjust to climate legislation is that it's often very lengthy. So for instance, the Fit for 55 package is 14 different proposals. Some of them are over 500 pages long. So one of the things we try to do at COE and SEEB is try to highlight what's most important, what's most relevant. We do that work for businesses, especially for small businesses that oftentimes don't have the resources to do that. And this is especially important in both Spain and Latin America and Portugal, where most of our companies are SMEs. And finally, very similar to the synthesis function, we also try to act sort of as a translator of administrative language. Administrative language can often be very complex. And so we're seeing that now, for instance, with EU Next Generation funds, that many companies are struggling to understand exactly what they need to do in order to apply for financing. So one of the things we try to do at COE and SEEB is to try to translate that administrative language into direct applicable steps, such as so telling businesses, here's the website you need to visit, here's the form you need to fill in, here are the requirements you need to meet, so that they can take advantage of those opportunities. And finally, why is this important? Well, it's important because, as I mentioned at the outset, I think that business competitiveness, we think from COE that business competitiveness is key for our ability to fight climate change effectively. And the main reason is innovation. If we look at our 2050 decarbonization goals in Europe, about 50% of the technologies needed to achieving those goals require technologies that are still in a very early development phase. Okay, yeah, so.
Thank you. You've provided me with the perfect bridge to our next speaker, Evan Doyle, who represents Dingle Creativity and Innovation Hub in Ireland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think it's a good time to talk about the relationship of my work in collaboration with the Dingle Peninsula 2030 Hub, because it's been the last 3.5 years, and I think it kind of culminates in us traveling here and being here, you know. And the basic premise from a research perspective and as an early career researcher is a colleague, Connor, and myself. I'm coming from social sciences, he's coming from energy engineering. Excuse me. So we've been working together across disciplines, you know, and also then working out into a community. So working with a group of partners down in Dingle in collaboration around kind of sustainability initiatives which they're undertaking in real time and in search of impact. And what we've been able to do through this, and often within, I think, research, there's a hesitancy towards this because what was mentioned earlier, such an emphasis on scientific outputs and this sort of stuff. But we've been able to balance, I guess, outputs scientifically on the one hand, but also local impact. And it's because we've worked with an amazing group on the ground who do so much work and have, you know, been able to do a wide range of things across a wide range of different areas, whether it's agriculture or transport or tourism. And take a kind of holistic look at decarbonising the area they live in rural Ireland, and we're just there to help them by having that link to the world of academia. So it's that sort of engaged research approach, and with it there's dangers of uncertainty and dangers of flexibility and luck in that the group, we all get on and, you know, everyone is good at their specific skills and we delegate skills in that way. And I guess what it's led to is us coming here, driving here from the southwest of Ireland in an electric car to arrive at COP, and the electric car is part of a trial which has come about through the work in Dingle. And then just before we came here, Dinny, one of the farmers involved in the project who's come with us, got the chance to talk to the Taoiseach, so the head of state in Ireland, and outline some of the project which he's done. So it's that kind of link which you mentioned at the start of you have this multilateral kind of top level policy making, but also local case studies can really influence that. And we've taken kind of an engaged research approach with hopes to collaborate with the group in Dingle, and they've been very successful in doing what they've done.
Thank you. Well, I'll stay with you because I have one final question for all the speakers, and I have to ask for brief answers.
Mm-hmm.
Apologies for that. So I'll reverse the order. Could you give us a very concrete example of impact that through your organization you've managed to, you know, have on the ground regarding climate action? And I think I will repeat the same question for all the speakers, if that's okay. Highlight an example of impact that your organizations have had.
Yeah, so I guess the research organisation, I'm based in Marai. I've been obviously working with Dingle Peninsula 2030 as one of the partners. I think a nice simple one and an easy one to move quickly through things is around kind of school climate action. So we developed a school climate hack where you'd go into a secondary school or a high school, depending, you know, at that level of school, and work with students to think about some of the problems needed to kind of change energy, you know, and put some of the figures around that and think about some, you know, blue sky thinking around ideas you could have around moving the energy system in that rural area to something different, and having the kind of scientific or research basis to put numbers around those different ideas. You know, students had some had crazy ideas, some had real concrete ideas, and using the research to work with them to tease out whether they're
Did it work?
or, you know, what's the timelines for them. So.
And it worked?
Yeah, it engaged them in the process, and then we can work through them, you know, that generates that interest.
Okay. Alvaro. Is Alvaro still online?
Yeah, I'm still online.
Do you have an example you'd like to highlight, concrete, on the ground?
Yeah, well, one example is the one I mentioned earlier, that we just help companies understand legislation and adjust to that legislation. So, for instance, that now with the Fit for 55 package, which is very complex, very lengthy, we're helping companies being able to know what are the keys of that package and how it will affect them. And one other one I would mention is we're helping a lot of companies apply for financing, companies that have ideas for fighting climate change, be able to obtain financing from this next generation EU funds that probably otherwise would not be able to do so without our guidance.
Thank you. Cesar? Well, Alvaro, sorry.
Okay. Well, before to the European mission for cities, we have experience with the City Council of Madrid. Madrid did demonstration, and we had a excellent experience because the university act like a facilitator, connecting the funding or the ideas of the city council with the citizens, with the association, with the NGOs, and we open new space for discuss, looking for solution adapt to to these citizens that they need.
Great. Thank you, Cesar. And over to you, Victor.
One example. In Spain, arrived before the coronavirus crisis, more or less 80 million tourists per year, no? And one initiative is joined the pioneers, the tourist sector, the bar and the restaurant, in order promote climate action in this service, no? The bar, restaurant, save energy, save water, save food. It's very important, save food, no? And we now this platform joined more than 1,400 bar and restaurant, no? It's very important because in Spain, the big polluters, the emission, the carbon dioxide emission, are reduced, but the little emission, the many people, many bars, many schools, the little emission, no reduce. So it's very important for us promote the diffuse emission, the reduce the little, but with million, is very important for us.
Can I ask myself the same question? Is that too weird? So, Joanna, do you have an example?
Joanna? Okay.
Thank you. Yes, I do.
But short time.
Rigorous moderation. Yeah, in Cascais, I've mentioned one mitigation project, the mobility one, the free public bus transport. So I'd like to mention an adaptation project. It's very simple, well, not simple on the ground, but simple. It's about river restoration or water creek restoration. We have 9 of those in Cascais, and they were just abandoned and dirty. And we've started to restore them one by one. So we've done 1.5 now, and it's a lot of work. And we've worked with private sector, even with academia, because these river creeks have biodiversity that needs to be monitored. And the results are amazing. And this is adaptation, but it's also mitigation, because whatever we're planting on the side also helps to absorb CO2. And I think it's the perfect way to illustrate how climate action can be so attractive to an everyday citizen, because the everyday citizen might not realize that restoration is helping biodiversity. It's reducing flood risk downtown in Cascais, and it's even reducing pollution risk in the creek itself. But the normal citizen will see it's a lovely place to cycle and to walk. So I think it's win-win-win. And yes. So I really want to thank everyone in the panel for the opportunity to share these experiences. I hope we've demonstrated to everyone that multilateralism is important, but so is the work that all of these organizations do. I'll stop looking at João Diniz. Actually, I think he needs a hand of applause because he helped us organize all this. And I will call to the stage young people and that really will demonstrate how individuals also make a difference. And I won't spoil the surprise, but you will hopefully describe in detail your adventure going from Cascais to Glasgow using as little emissions as possible. So thank you to everyone.
Thank you.
E o que é que achaste da experiência? Epá, não gostei usual.
Okay, let's go. We are live.
Hello, good afternoon to you all. I'm absolutely delighted to have you all here. It's an absolute pleasure to present this project. A project that, first of all, I have to thank Cascais. They were the first that believed in the power of this project. And of course, all the other sponsors that helped us, make this dream come true. Actually, this project started in 2018 in a COP, COP 24, where in that COP I drove from Lisbon to Poland in an electric car. And we decided that we wanted to show the world that our individual decisions matter. João, can you swap? So it's not only about politicians deciding our fate, we also have a say on this. So at that moment, we decided also that probably one guy driving an electric car is not enough. And so we thought that having 12 plus 2 other persons traveling from Ireland and kind of a big brother, so evaluating every move that they were doing along the way from Cascais here to Glasgow, and then trying to put some metrics on top of it. Because one of the things that everyone says is, I don't understand if my decision is the good decision in terms of climate change. Should I, go this way or that way? Should I have an electric car or should I go by train? So that's what we decided to do here. So evaluate transportation, evaluate how we eat. So there are several things that actually individually contribute to climate change. Next slide. Yeah, so we decided to create a fictitious currencies, which is the climes, and the climes comprises CO2, euros, time, and water. So we evaluated these 4 vectors in the whole way from Cascais to here to Glasgow. Next slide. So this is still provisional, so it's like the elections. We still can't call a winner because there are still some quality check that we have to do and see if everything was really included. But they left Lisbon with 2,000 climbs. They negotiated those 2,000 times in a simulated COP. So these were the climbs that they actually left, and they were spending their climbs along the way. Those were the paths that they chose to do from Lisbon, from Cascais to Glasgow. And next slide. Yeah, so you can see all that in detail in climbs2go.pt. There's a lot of statistics that actually we're going to go through those statistics after. We're going to analyze the actions and the repercussions in terms of climbs. And I think there will be a lot of work still to do in the aftermath of this project. So I'm going to present now Susanna, which is going to moderate here a little panel. Susanna is also a partner from Earthwatchers. I'm Luís Costa, sorry I didn't present myself. I'm a partner from Get to See, and we were the promoters of this project.
Thank you, Luís. So this has been a true partnership between 2 companies and different partners. And just to complement, and what Luís just said. So, and one of the angles of the triangle, which is citizens. So we really wanted action. We really wanted to have engage and mobilize the normal, regular citizens, okay, who don't know much of this matter, but that they would have a transformative experience. And so here they are, okay, we have, as Luís just said, so we have 4 teams, actually. On the Climbs to Go, we have production and consumption, we have energy, and we have water. Okay, welcome Francisco and Guilherme and Marilia and Deirdre. Okay, so this is already an international event because so we had 3 teams coming from Cascais and 1 team coming from Ireland. So it was a shorter journey, but also quite challenging. So without further delay, I would like to ask you, okay, what were really your main challenges and your main learnings and the positives and the negatives of this journey? Okay? All right? Yep.
Okay, so thank you, Susanna. Maybe I can start. Thank you all. I would say that maybe the biggest learning for me, and I think for the rest of the team, would be that information is key. And information is key to make better decisions on our daily life, on our travels. And information can allow us to have all variables at hand and make these better informed decisions. So with this, we were fortunate enough to have data in our hands that allowed us to bring different variables such as the footprint that our decisions could take. And having these different variables at hand, we could make decisions, even though we could say, okay, this can cost more, or this can have a higher footprint, but we can make an informed decision with this.
Good.
So first of all, and I think we have to say this, Susanna and Luis and all the ones that supported us, thank you. Thank you, because being here for young people, having the opportunity of being in COP and learning, it's a huge privilege, and we have to acknowledge that. It was a huge adventure, like someone said yesterday, and I think the main opportunity we had was to learn with information, but also to learn with NGOs, with people that we found on the street, and people that know much more than us. And just by the fact that we are here and we can share this experience with our friends, with our colleagues, with our family, it's starting to create something. It's the opportunity of saying that we can leave our comfort zone and start to make the change. And not just with poetry and with judging other people, but showing that it's fun to do it. And of course, we had to have some choices, some hard decisions, but in the end, we enjoyed the trip. And that's the most important. And the good thing is the trip is starting. It's not ended.
Marilia?
Hello. I would say that some of the challenges, at least for me, were related to the foods. We tried to be more sustainable. I tried to be a bit more vegan and vegetarian on this trip. But sometimes we would arrive late to some cities and we couldn't find many places open, so we couldn't be that sustainable. But I also learned that maybe choosing vegan or vegetarian is not the best option sometimes in terms of sustainability. So sometimes being sustainable is not that obvious, it's not the obvious choice, so I learned that as well. Some of the positives, I met amazing people, amazing associations. I did things that I never done before, like I cleaned the beach in Bilbao. And some of the negatives, I would say maybe some of the hostels were not that great, but it was an experience, and I saw people from different backgrounds, and it was very interesting. I loved this experience.
Great. I'll come to you in a minute. Deirdre, so from Ireland to Glasgow on an electric car and passing through many rural communities.
True.
What was the main challenge and learnings too for you?
The learnings through. Well, first of all, I'd like to say we were really delighted with the invite to participate in this. It's been a wonderful opportunity to come to COP and to come here and bring some learnings, because we're trying to address transport from a rural community perspective in rural Ireland, and we're participating in trials with an electric vehicle. So it was a really great opportunity to put the electric vehicles to the test and to really understand what are the challenges that are left? On the peninsula, we've got 17 trial vehicles. They work really well for everyday use, but we wanted to put it to that extra stretch and see what it would be like to take it on an extended journey. I won't lie. We were charging at, or trying to charge at 2 o'clock this morning. We rolled into a charger at with about 3 kilometres left, and we prayed that it would work. So it was stressful. We really did push it to the limits, push it to the test. I love the electric vehicle for 95% of my driving. I'm not sure I'll be taking it on an extended trip again until perhaps the infrastructure has come up to speed. But I'm very hopeful that that's going to happen in the next, 1 to 2 years, certainly. But we learned, I suppose, that it's not where it needs to be. Between, say, apps that you can't download, the apps for here, I couldn't download them from an Irish phone, so I couldn't start the charger. So then you have to phone up. You can phone up, and there's somebody at the end of the line to do it. So all of these things are insurmountable. But certainly, we approached this challenge looking at how we could travel sustainably, but we were never going to come to an event. We wanted to really make our journey count. So meeting with communities along the way has been huge for us, and we've had wonderful inspiration over the past 2 days in the communities that we have met and that we've connected with, and I'm sure we're going to build some very strong relationships into the future. So that's a really positive for me, and that was enabled by taking a slower journey, as opposed to going on a flight where we would have missed all that. We got to connect with the communities along the way. That's a really, really good benefit. But we have learned that if you're taking an EV at the moment, make more time for the journey. There's more time certainly needed. It's been a little rushed.
All right, great. So one great word, journey. We've listened here, right? Journey. It's a journey starting. We know we have to be quick and sharp and accelerate. One question that we had to our great team was, what message would you like to bring to COP? Okay, and I think they'll start to answer. They've done a beautiful video, which we've just seen today. So they didn't sleep at all during the evening because they had a lot of edited material, but they decided to do something from scratch, and they will share it here now with you. It's a short 3-minute video, okay? Just before, Joanna would like to say something. Sorry, Joanna.
Where do I start?
We were 12 people with different backgrounds.
Our goal was to travel in the more sustainable way.
From Cascais to Glasgow.
Why Glasgow? Obviously the Scotch COP26.
5 countries.
10 days.
3,000 kilometers.
Different means of transportation.
It was a huge adventure.
Just like bees go from flower to flower, collecting and gathering pollen, I felt we were going from town to town, collecting and gathering information about climate issues.
So, after all this way, what does it mean to be sustainable?
There are several ways to act. Entrepreneurship, advocacy, education, activism, arts, you name it.
While on our trip, we found many businesses that are eco-responsible and ethically conscious. Even if it's just buying from one of these stores, we can all have an impact in saving the planet.
It was amazing to learn that local small businesses are aware and eager to run their business the most sustainable way possible.
One of the goals of our team was raising awareness throughout our journey and share what we have learned, the way we know how, being fun and human.
Not neglecting the role that states and international organizations have, but we, as ordinary citizens, have a word to say and a responsibility to take. We can read and think about things, but one needs to go out there for little changes can happen.
Decisions, people, time. I had a moment of anxiety. It happens and will probably happen again. How to deal with it? I took a breath and I heard my group.
The world is not only shared by all of us, but also with those yet to come.
we were touched by people that showed us that sustainability is not only about the environment, but also about people, our people.
And all of this is just a tiny fraction of individuals that live in different parts of the world where ones are more affected than others, but who have to listen for change to happen.
Now it's time for resilience, cooperation and commitment. It's time to stand for something bigger than all of us.
So, guys, when you left, we called you our special envoys of empowerment, and I think this has been totally demonstrated here. It's really heart-render. I don't know the expression. It's just you made me almost cry, and I think we've gained more special envoys for empowerment here, and I want to thank Susanna as well from Earthwatchers and Luís from Get to See, and. Victor, Cesar, Alvaro, and Evan also. I think our team of special envoys is increasing. And thank you for the journey, but also for the destination.
Thank you, Joanna. We don't even know how to call them, but, we call them pioneers, brave hearts, everything, This has been a truly, truly amazing journey. So, our team leaders are here representing 12 people. Deidre is representing the 3, so we have 16 people, and I would really like you to applause. Again, these people, we need billions of these small steps. If we have billions, we'll get there, okay? I would... I don't know how we are in time. Oh, 10 minutes, okay. I would just then, okay, questions, and then if I still have time, I will challenge them with the last question. Questions, please.
I don't know if I can do this. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. My name is Martin from the Climate Fresk, and so my question would be, do you have any plans to scale up this initiative to because now it's, I guess, 15 people, how to go further?
This was experimental, a pilot. We weren't sure what we would be accomplishing, but of course our dream is really to escalate this, and as long as there are COPs, we will be there with more teams and more people, hopefully.
Just following up on that question, how about making an app so that people could spend the climbs and figure out what was the best route for them to be energy and climate effective?
Well, the question was if there is an app for people to be more efficient. Actually, another experiment on this journey was a tool so it's an app where all the teams have been putting all their consumptions, and we've been really following them with this. So again, it's a journey. Okay. Any more questions? Nope. Okay. Well, I would like to ask you one more question, and following what was asked. What if you would recommend, and what would you recommend to any future teams in future COPs?
Okay, I think I can be short in this, but I would say probably plan your time wisely on your daily basis. So split your time and plan your time to enjoy your trip, to do some work that we had to do during this trip, and to rest as well.
I would say the Nike slogan, just do it and enjoy all the journey. And if possible, try to talk to the majority of people that you can meet, because normally we think that we will only find interesting people in places like this, but they are on the street also.
I don't know if I have much to add to my colleagues, but yes, I would say planning is key for a trip like this. If you want to really be sustainable, you have to plan your time wisely and choose where you're going to eat, what transport you're going to take. But also, I think you should enjoy the trip. One of the highlights of the trip for me was meeting people that I would never have talked before if I didn't do this trip. So yes, plan wisely, but also enjoy the people you meet and the journey.
Deirdre?
I think I would agree with everything that's being said here. Certainly, go for it, enjoy it, use it as a learning experience. Make sure to connect with people along the way, and give enough time to it. It's worth the time to do it properly. So I think I'm just summing up what everyone has said here.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I think that one of the conclusions is that to be sustainable is a little bit like driving in the UK. You can't, if you come from, from the continent, you can't be in automatic mode. You have to think about everything that you actually do. So I don't know if you have anything else to add. It was an absolute pleasure to have you all here. Thank you so much for all the support that we had, for our sponsors, for everyone that followed the trip on our website. Thank you so much. See you next year.
See you next year.